Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a very special episode of the Bring the Thunder podcast. We have the entire group here today because we have a very special guest. We have Oklahoma City Thunder super fan Garrett Thundor Haviland. Garrett, we are so happy you're here. Go ahead and introduce yourself and just let us know what's going on with the Thundor.
Oh man, so much. It's a great season. I'm happy to be here. Happy to meet all you guys. Hello, Oklahoma and the world. I am Garrett Haviland. Most know me as the big bellied Thundor. And I am an Oklahoma native. I've been cheering on the Thunder since season one as Thundor, and it's been a crazy ride. What can I say?
Absolutely, man. It's just so cool to be able to have somebody who's been around for the entire existence of the Thunder, getting such a well-known fan like you onto this podcast just means a lot for us, seriously. We're going to start off. We all have got questions that we decided we're going to pull up and ask him. We're just going to kind of let it flow, let it be free-flowing and let it go. So
my main question is, what was the first game you ever went to?
I went to the very first game of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I believe it was against the Milwaukee Bucks.
Ooh,
I was there from game one. I was lucky enough that when the Thunder came to Oklahoma, I was fresh out of college and had just started my career. So single, no kids, disposable income, and we were off and running from there.
Yeah. So, being that you were there from the jump, how did you get to become such an influential character in Oklahoma City Thunder history? I mean, you're one of the biggest names known in the Thunder history.
Well, I mean, I'm looking across the screen and, I don't see very many gray hairs going on or anything. So I'm assuming when the Thunder came to Oklahoma, you were a bunch of youngins.
Yeah.
So for me, like I said, I was in my early 20s and I went to the first game. You open up the program, and in the program, they had an ad for Love's Ultimate Thunder Fan. And you got a bunch of Love swag. You got Pepsi products for a year, beef jerky for a year, and you got to have a chance to become the ultimate Thunder fan. And so I saw that. I had an old Halloween costume that was like a $5 Hot Topic special. That was like a knockoff Nacho Libre. I spray painted my own little special logo on the chest piece. And my friend at college, he was a male cheerleader and he had a megaphone that he was no longer using. And so I was like, hey, man, can I use that? So I wrapped that up in tape, went to a game, just tried to cause a scene. I got as low as I could go. And so the cheapest lower bowl seats are right behind the basket. And so I'm sitting there with my megaphone, like, how do I stand out? I already look like an idiot, but what can I do to kind of set myself apart to win this contest? And Chris Kaman came to the line, and I was like, you know what? Why don't I go down there and just try to heckle him, distract him, see if I can't get him to miss or get him to pay attention to me.
Right.
And so Chris Kaman for the Clippers was the first ever player that I heckled. I always keep my heckling PG. A lot of it now is just a lot more of the whoo, or some belly shakes and hip thrust. Back then, I wasn't as well rounded yet, and I may have called him Cayman the Caveman, and I felt a little bad about it. I might have pointed out to his hairline and other things, but I quickly noticed that he was paying attention to me. And when he went and sat on the bench, I was close enough to where I was like, oh no, because he was sitting next to Razul Butler, and I'm like, Razul, dude, don't be sitting next to this trash. You're just gonna rub off here. And awesome. Came and put the towel over his head, and I was like, oh man, he is actually like bothered by my presence. And so that's when I first realized that there's a small, super tiny 0.001% chance that I could impact the game and get the players to pay attention, distract them, and have them miss a free throw. So, I've kind of kept it up over the years. I've ripped shirts off. I have belly paint. I do suspender dancing. I mean, whatever I got, I'll give it to them. I've had some laugh over the years. Those are probably some of my favorite memories with players. But I do it out of respect, Of course. I love the players. I respect them. They're gifted athletes. But if they're not wearing Thunder blue, then you better bet I'm going to boo you. So.
It's funny that you brought up. It's funny that you brought up. There's a bunch of youngins across the screen here. Satvir and I were talking a couple days ago. It's funny enough. We kind of grew up with you. Satvir and I were fans. I was like about 10 years old when I watched the first OKC Thunder game, and you've been like a staple in our fandom for I don't even 15 years now or so. So it's really unbelievable.
Yeah, 17 years in. Last year, I had my first realization of just how like many kids have, taken pictures with me or whatever over the years. When a dude who was 21 came up to me and offered to buy me a beer, and I was like, "I'm good, man. Whatever." And he's like, "I just wanted to offer it to you. You probably have no idea, but I was like 10 years old." And I was sitting next to you when the Thunder were in the playoffs against Kobe, and you made the game that much better. And I was like, dude, what? I appreciate you, but you're making me feel old over here. Offering me a beer, when you were like, 9, 10 years old the last time.
Yeah. Yeah, a few years ago, me and my friends actually came up and got a picture with you. I'm sure you don't remember me. I don't have the picture on me, but I promise you it did happen.
Oh, yeah. No, I try to pride myself on always, never saying no, always saying yes to fans for pictures or weird autographs. I've signed a Croc and everything else, whatever they want. I'm just trying to be there to kind of amp up everybody else, keep the energy going. One of the things that in the early years that we were always kind of prideful of in Oklahoma City was the college atmosphere. And I think that's, for me, I was, like I said, in my early 20s. And so I really resonated with that because I went to a small college. So I was never, that big into all the sports and stuff around there. So this was my opportunity to just kind of let my freak flag fly and just kind of really go all out at sporting events. And so, I want to kind of keep that energy going even as I approach 40 years old. So
what's like your most memorable experience meeting an NBA player or a Thunder player maybe specifically?
I'll give you two answers and scenarios there. So the greatest player interaction or post-player interaction that I've ever had obviously goes to the Shaquille O'Neal moment, because that is mind-blowing, and I still to this day can't believe that Shaquille O'Neal bit me on live television. So it's pretty wild. So I kind of like to just gather up all these weird facts that I have of things that I've done and just kind of be like, I can make this statement, and this is a true statement. I can say Shaquille O'Neal bit me on live television. And so it's one of those things that's kind of really fun, and it just resonates because a few years before that, when Thundor was first getting noticed and stuff, and the Oklahoman did an article, I tried to call Shaq out and do a free throw competition where we'd each get 10 free throws trying to distract the other one.
Wow.
And so, I haven't got to do that yet, Shaq. But
we'll try to push that agenda. We'll try to make that happen.
But I did get to have that interaction with him and the TNT crew, which was just, a memory of a lifetime.
Yeah.
As far as Thunder players, it's probably a tie between like Daquan Cook and Steven Adams.
That's a pull there.
That is a pull.
Post game, we would always go get winning wings over at Hooters back in the day. And we're sitting there, and here comes Russell Westbrook, Eric Maynor, and Daquan Cook. And so, I'm sitting here with a table full of super fans, and we're just kind of like, let him eat. And then, we waited till they were done, and we walked over there, and we were just kind of introducing ourselves and being like, what's up? And Daquan Cook's like finishing his last wing, and he couldn't be more annoyed. He's like, oh my God, stupid fans. I don't want to deal with these guys right now. And then he turns his head and he just goes, oh, it's you. And I'm like, no, it's you, man. What are you? He's like, oh my God. And he jumps out of his seat, like shaking my hand and is all excited. And I was like, man, dude, what are you excited for? Like, this is ridiculous. So that's probably one of the more memorable ones, just because of like how he went from being like, all right, I got to take this picture with these fans, to being like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get to take a picture with this fan, so that was cool. And then Steven Adams, I met him during a season ticket member event. And as I'm walking up to take the photo, he's like, you're an effing legend. And I was like, no, dude, you're the legend. And then he proceeded to kind of pull his shirt up with me so that we both are kind of like flashing our bellies. And so that's just, that's classic Steven Adams. I mean, he's a hoot all around. So great dude.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's so awesome. You got to be in the small group of fans that have been called a legend by Steven Adams.
For sure.
I don't know. He's probably kind enough to call anybody a legend,
Yeah.
one way or the other.
That's true.
Fair
That's
enough.
very true.
I guess the question that I was going to ask is, how have you seen Oklahoma City Thunder and the fan community evolve over the years, and how has that shaped your journey, like up till now? And I know you were talking a little bit about it earlier, but I'd love to hear you expand on that.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of wild, just how lucky we are as a fan base to have, one of the quickest ways to kind of put it into perspective is that the Thunder have existed, for 17 years at this point, and they've had a Hall of Fame caliber player every single year. And for me, I thought we were going to watch that come to an end when Chris Paul left. And it's like, well, maybe, I mean, Shea's good. Maybe he can, biggest hopes and dreams ever. And then here we are now, and he's just blowing any kind of potential out of the water. And so it's just kind of been fun to see the city embrace that, and then to watch them be excited from the moment they get here. They have that ultimate fan competition, which for you guys, I wish you could have got to experience those first like 2 seasons of Thunder basketball, because they're just trying to throw things at the wall to see what sticks. Like you could write essays into the team to get free tickets.
I actually
like
did that. I went to one of the early years and I wrote an essay for sure.
Yeah, dude, I was like 23 or something, and it was like there was an essay contest to like write an essay about why you don't smoke, and I'm like, I don't smoke because I don't want my cat to get secondhand smoke, and then I got 2 free lower bowl tickets, and it's like, just crazy stuff like that. So I kind of missed some of that just wild thought process, because once the Thunder became, playoff contenders every year, they're like, okay,
Yeah.
a little more professional now, and so that's kind of been a unique spin to see, but also the energy staying the same. You can't explain a playoff atmosphere in Oklahoma City until you live it. And so I think that's something that's really awesome, is that even though we've been here 17 years, even though we've seen all these Hall of Famers come in and out, they continue to uphold that excitement, that level of energy in the playoffs that is just unparalleled. And I just enjoy the hell out of that.
I was going to mention one thing real quick. I was telling the guys earlier that like 8 out of the 17 years, I believe, we've had at least 2 All-Stars pass through, which is, top amongst the NBA. So we're very fortunate as fans.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're that small market, and to watch Sam Presti work magic to always ensure that we have some of the best players on earth coming through Oklahoma City is just a testament to his genius and the ability to make a small market run. One of the only few franchises that is kind of even comparable in that realm is the Spurs. And that's kind of where Presti learned a lot of that from. And so I think that's how you have to be successful as a small market. You have to keep fostering that. And then also not only with the players, but then how lucky we got that the team is doing so well that it helped propel them to the new stadium, right? Because that could have gone south if the community didn't come together to support that. And we all saw what happened in Seattle. And you don't ever want to have to experience that here now that we're ingrained in NBA culture.
About the history of the Thunder, what has been your favorite Thunder team as a fan? Since you've watched them all, so.
Oh yeah,
What's number
no.
one?
I was gonna pull one out of a hat to say like what's one of my all-time favorite ones to cheer for is just the what if team of 2020. They were not meant to be good, and they were battling, for the 4th or 5th seed in the playoffs. And Chris Paul was leading, and SGA was just consuming knowledge like a sponge from CP3, and just kind of learning and growing in the moment right there. And then you have Dort coming out of nowhere, and it's just that's probably like one of the most unexpected, like ready to roll and cheer for a team moments that I can think of. But being an old head, of course, I got to go back to the 2012 years, because we rose to prominence so fast, and you're just sitting there with 3 first ballot Hall of Famers, 3 future MVPs, all there together early in their careers. Like that's just it was magic, man. It was something else. And it's still devastating to sit there and think about all the what ifs. What if we went with Harden over Ibaka? What happens here? What happens if everybody can just come together and have a kumbaya moment and not argue over $500,000? All these things that kind of hurts. So I think it's kind of how that all ended, which I don't even want to talk about how it all truly ended with the snake. But I think that's what makes the 2020 season was so fun and awesome to cheer for, is because you have this, like, as they're rising to prominence, then we have this catastrophe happen with COVID, and we never got to see that full team come together, and they never got to have the pleasure of an Oklahoma City playoff environment. And I always felt really bummed out that they didn't get that moment, because that team deserved that.
Moving off of that question, you've seen a lot of Thunder players throughout your lifetime. Who are 5 of your favorites?
See, I thought that question might come because I was watching your earlier podcast when you guys talked about that, and I gotta say, I believe it was Joe who brought him up. You can't sit here and make a top 5 and call it whatever you want, whether it's your favorite or most impactful and all that, without saying the name of he who shall not be spoken, right? So, I mean, I'll put him at 5. I was butthurt as all could be when he left the way that he did. But
I'm
Kevin
still
Durant,
hurt, man.
I'm butthurt. But you got to respect him, right? I mean, he's a true legend of the game. Without him, I don't know that Oklahoma City's put on the map the way that it is.
Exactly.
And so you got to put him in there. I just think it's really important. Not that I'm going to try to suck up to Jack or anything, but I also would probably put Steven Adams in there just because of my one-on-one interaction with him. Just because of how, like, awesome of a dude he seems on and off the court. I mean, he's just the fun-loving dude, right? Right now, you got the recency bias, right? Like, J-Dub is hella fun. Like,
That's a good choice.
God, man, he's just, the energy that he brings reminds me of, like, Russ, and how he tries to get the crowd pumped up and involved, and I just kind of got to dig that. And then you got the top 2, which I don't think you can debate or argue who the top 2 have to be. I think you got to go SGA, future MVP, the leader of this team, the smoothest mother. I'm just talking about Shea, and you got to go Westbrook.
I think that's
Westbrook, the way he carried this franchise was awesome after everything that happened, and he just kind of kept that hope, that energy going for Oklahoma City and the fan base, and much respect for always and forever.
I honestly think that's the perfect list, and I really appreciate you putting Durant on there. I know it's hard, but like you said, and like I've said in the past, just growing up, he was the one to put us on the map, really. So you got to respect it a little bit.
My question for you was, when you're looking at talent straight up with all the players that you've seen come in and out of OKC, how would you compare SGA compared to some of the past talent? I mean, not just being a player you like, but you've witnessed a lot of talent coming through this team.
Yeah, I think when you talk Shea compared to anybody else in regards to the level of talent, you have to hit the consistency. You have to hit the efficiency marks that nobody else can hold a candle to that. I mean, the way that he's a mid-range maestro, the way that he gets anywhere that he wants, the way that you can pick, a dozen plus shots that you're like, oh, that's his shot. Oh no, well that's his shot. He's a killer from all over the court. And once he gets that 3-point percentage up, I mean, he's absolutely unstoppable, as if he already isn't. And so I think that's kind of where that level of talent is just, it's undervalued. You can't speak highly enough about it. The way that he can just drop 55+% from the mid range as a guard, I mean, that's just unheard of. And so that's just really smooth to watch. And also, again, being an old head, I'm always going to think that Michael Jordan's the GOAT, and you're never going to convince me otherwise. And that's a lot of his game too, right? That mid range, that get to where he wants to be, that smooth movement. Kobe was also very reminiscent of that. And I think that's kind of right up there where Shea's at with his level of skill and talent. And it's it's due all the respect and admiration that he can garner because it's well deserved.
Second question is, do you have any game day or pre-game rituals or traditions that you do every game, every day?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like my wristbands, they're always the same. Like they're always on the same arms and mismatched. Color coordinated. Like I always do that. Depending on if I'm getting painted or not, like I have to kind of prepare for how long that may take. Um, and I've had like over 40 different belly artists over the years, so it's always kind of like the ebbs and flows of kind of figuring that out sometimes. Outside of that, it's not really too many things. I guess I also always walk under a player's name through an entrance that is playing that night. Like I won't walk under a player who's, out or injured or anything like that. Like I have to walk through a player's door that I know is going to be in the building.
I like that. That's awesome.
We're all impressed by your dedication. You kind of managed to be at every single game. What's your secret to that? And how do you juggle your schedule to overcome challenges? But it feels like you're nearly there every single game.
Yeah. No, I wish I could say that I was. Now, throughout my 20s, I'm pretty sure like my attendance percentage was like 97, 98%. Like I would always give all my friends a hard time if they missed a game. But now, I'm older. I have a toddler. Shout out to Hogan. Woo woo. That kind of will diminish on how often I'm able to be there. It's not quite as much as it used to be. There'll be a few games where I might miss here or there. But if I know it's about to be a big game or something crazy, then I'll go. I did miss a playoff game once, and you guys can all boo
Yeah,
James
terrible.
and Amy
Come on.
for getting married in the middle of the Thunder playoffs. What were they doing? Love be damned.
Yeah. Terrible timing. Terrible timing.
But no, I love those guys. But yeah, that was really hard. That was the classic. Wait till they see playoff P, and then playoff P came and laid one, and we kind of watched the Thunder go down in the first round again. So it kind of left a better taste in my mouth. But yeah, that's the only playoff game that I've missed to this point.
So you kind of mentioned, we'll shout out Hogan the toddler, but I was just gonna get at, how is it balancing being such the super fan you are and a dad at the same time? I'm sure it has its challenges.
I mean, he's 3 right now, so he doesn't really know much other than like, sometimes like literally last night, he raised my shirt up and was like, "Oh, no paint." like he just like expects that I will randomly have paint on my belly, and he's gone to a couple of games with me. Sometimes he'll find my mask and he'll put him on and run around the house and act all crazy. It's just about a matter of making sure that either his mom or I got some friends or family that will look after him on important game days and whatnot. So and then my work schedule is pretty flexible. I kind of travel all over the state. I do behavioral health services. I know like there's a game, that maybe that won't be my Stillwater day, or if I'm planning on getting painted, then I need to make sure that whoever's going to paint me, that I'm close to them when I end my day and stuff like that.
Sure, when he grows up, that he knows his dad's a Thunder legend. So
Okay, well thank you.
We'll have him come back and listen to this podcast episode right here. Yeah, after my second question, I just want to know, what are some of the characteristics that you think Oklahoma City Thunder fans display that other franchises just don't have?
I think it's just the commitment. They have some catchphrases that they'll put across the top of Loud City. And I think a lot of those kind of run deep, right? It's that forever for people who are a little older, I don't want to keep hammering out the age gap and all that stuff, but growing up in Oklahoma and not having a professional sports team to cheer for, and like knowing how oftentimes we get cursed with the flyover state and there's nothing to do, and now we have something that we can kind of rally behind and get behind and do and have a good time. Like I think that's kind of first and foremost what I think about, is just the level of commitment. Like we know what it's like to not have it, and so I'll be damned if we have to experience that again, which I kind of go back to praising Mayor Holt and like the city passing that for the new arena. So 70+% or whatever it was. So that's awesome. And just kind of looking forward to, now that I know like Hogan kind of referencing him again, we'll get to see this team for years to come. And like you guys said, you grew up watching the Thunder, and like that's awesome that you're going to get to see that later into your adulthood when those gray hairs do start popping out. So, it's just great to kind of have that. And I think you also just get the level of support, that they're not going to come in here and boo or get upset or, throw snowballs at Santa or anything like that. They're going to be proud of their guys no matter what. Even when, we went through those 2 years of rebuilding or rephrasing or whatever words you want to try to use to sugarcoat the Poku years, that even then we were able to at least rally around and enjoy the car crash that was Poku, from the highlights to the lowlights to anything and everything in between. So, there's always that piece to kind of rally around and enjoy. And I think that as a fan base, we're able to do that.
Yeah, my second question is, what happens when you retire from being Thundor? Are you going to pass it down? Does the legend still live on?
Yeah.
Or?
So I thought about this because somebody asked me something similar. And I think the best thing that I can try to do is, of course, I've got a son. So, first opportunity to kind of run with the mantle would be Hogan. But outside of that, I would love for there to always be a Thundor. And, after I'm gone, Hogan can take it over. If Hogan doesn't want to do it, we'll pick somebody else. And then that person can pick somebody else, and so on and so forth. So that there's always some annoying dude heckling free throw shooters forever and ever in Oklahoma City. And those free throws are never going to be entirely free around here.
That's awesome.
Love to hear it.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's good to know.
Yeah, the legend lives on.
Absolute Thunder legend.
Yeah, for sure. The citizens of Oklahoma can sleep soundly knowing that Thundor will always be here.
You say that you try to get to every playoff game. You've only missed one. Try to get to mostly every game in the regular season. Do the Thunder themselves help you out in getting to the games now that you've become such a big name?
No, this is the most expensive hobby you can probably muster. I wouldn't do those for those who are faint of heart. It's a deal. It does come with being part of the Thunder experience, as they say, are two separate entities. I am merely a fan of a sports franchise.
Well, we'll have to start a petition for that because
yeah, for sure. Definitely. I think we can all agree here that you are much more than just a fan, man.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I appreciate that, but it's just one of my biggest regrets probably comes from when I thought that I was a little more entitled than I probably should have been, and that was back when my father was diagnosed with cancer, and so I was having to take him to treatments multiple times. My work schedule got all out of whack. Life was just kind of handing me a bunch of lemons, and Kickstarter had just kind of started. And so I was like, well, maybe I'll go on here because some dude raised like $1 million for a potato salad recipe. Maybe I'll go on Kickstarter and be like, hey, I'm struggling, but I didn't want to go out and say, hey, yo, my dad got cancer, everybody. So I was just like, hey, help me get to the games. It's harder to go now. And that was probably one of the biggest backlash moments that I've experienced as a super fan. So that's been something that you kind of live and learn from. So it's whatever. I do it because I love it. I do it because I've made so many lifelong friends doing it through like I said, the Love's Ultimate Thunder Fan. I mean, we still have a text group called Thunder Buddies. We're texting each other all the time. We're still together, even though like Derek Brickman, as you may know him, lives far away, even though Thunder Princess now lives over in Florida. They'll still try to come out to games here and there. Brickman's a wild dude. You talk about dedication. That man will travel 16 hours in a car to get to a game on a weekend, turn around and go drive back the same night, like some kind of beast. He also does crazy long distance bike rides. They call him Uncle Mental. So, I mean, that kind of speaks to his level of dedication. So I can't come on here, talk about other super fans and not bring up Derek Brickman. So, shout out to him. And all the other ones that I've met over the years. It's a good camaraderie and a good group of peeps.
A couple other things we'd like to talk about with you while you're here. First off, we just kind of want to gather your opinions on All-Star Weekend. We just had it. It just ended. So whatever you want, the stage is yours.
Oh, great. Thank you. Because guess what, guys? I solved it.
Oh, all right. Let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
I figured it out. Adam Silver.
Okay.
Take notes. So the thing that we complain about the most as fans, right, is the level of effort and it just kind of being this boring product. And then this year they really hit it out of the ballpark with the massive amounts of everything that's not basketball. So I think you, first of all, you just trim the fat. Give us the games, whether it's one game, East versus West, one game, USA versus World. You do a little miniature tournament. You do an Elam ending. I don't care. Whatever Adam Silver can't talk, decides to come up with, great, do that. Kudos. But let's change the way we get points. Instead of just getting points from launching 40-foot threes, why don't we get points for defense? You get a block, boom, 3 points to your team. You get a steal, bam, 2 points to your team. You have a turnover from the other team, whether it's an offensive foul, throwing the ball out of bounds, boom, you get a point. You take a three-pointer over 30 feet and you miss, congratulations, point to the other team. And then you just have this wackadoo, whose line is it anyways game going on where the rules are made up and the points don't matter, but it's fun and it's different. And it kind of is reminiscent of like fantasy basketball, right?
Yes.
Like I play that, kind of suck at it. You think I'd be better, but you're getting credit for the defense. And if we want to find a way to get them to try or to get it to matter, then give those defensive plays some points. And let's get really weird with it.
I really enjoy that idea.
Yeah, I love that.
Way more attention to detail.
No, yeah, I absolutely love that.
Way more effort. But I would say, like, my question to you would be, why can't the NBA, such a large organization as they are, just raise the money, do East versus West, and just give everybody $5 million, whatever you want to give, because they're making money from everywhere. Obviously,
yeah, but they're all-stars. If they're all-star players, they're already rich beyond our wildest dreams.
That is
so
true.
I don't think it's financially savvy of the NBA, who's already struggling with like the amount of money they're getting from that, to kind of bring that in. I think that's going to be too much of an astronomical number to matter.
For sure.
I think that's one of the problems there.
Well, what do you think the problem was with this year? I know you said like the ads and everything besides basketball, but we had some great players this year, and this was the second lowest watched or viewed All-Star game in a really, really long time. This is before OKC was even around. So,
yeah,
I mean, besides the ad breaks and Kevin Hart talking for 3 hours.
Yeah, that first game, like I was texting my group of Thunder buddies, right? I'm like, oh man, hey, look, it looks like they're giving effort. This is kind of fun to watch.
Right.
And then immediately after that first game, that's when all the garbage ensues. That's when the Kevin Hart jokes start just bombing left and right. That's where we get musical acts. That's where everything just kind of goes away. And then you interrupt the championship game.
Oh my gosh.
That was rough.
So bad.
I mean,
so
it was already not a very competitive score at that point anyway, but still it just really ruined any kind of momentum or any kind of watchability that was going on. And so I think they just need to trim it down, make it like an hour and a half, 2 hours long. Let's if you're going to do that little tournament thing, that tournament thing seemed like it could be fun. Players seemed like they were trying a little bit more, but it's just that you weren't giving us that. You were giving us all these bells and whistles to go along with it, and it just kind of got lost on everything. As far as Saturday night, I mean, I think that was a little bit better. Not necessarily because you had all these amazing dunks by Mac McClung, but allegedly, we'll see if they keep to their word, but maybe we're finally going to get to see some star players compete in the slam dunk contest again. And if that happens, I've been kind of so-so on the whole Mac McClung era, but if he really is able to bring all these stars out of the hiding hole, that would be awesome. Because growing up, I mean, I was watching, all the best of the best dunks. And so I'd love to see that again. And the 3-point contest, it is what it is. People love it. When are they going to respect Isaiah Joe? That's all I want to know. But
Never.
Exactly.
hey,
We
I'm
actually
biased.
talked about that.
I'm biased.
No, you're right.
Yeah, you're not biased. You are.
Yeah, no, that's
exactly right.
you're actually correct. I actually wanted to ask you. So you're talking about that new format, which I agree. It's like it's great. It provides more opportunities for hustle and whatnot. Do you think there would need to be a further incentive outside of money to get these players to do it? Like, for example, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, the winning team had a charity that they picked out that money went to.
Yeah.
So
And that
do
was
you
kind of
believe?
fun.
No, I like that. So do you believe there's a certain incentive that should be involved?
Yeah, let's all the incentives. Let's have them give to charity. The winning team gets to double the amount or whatever. And then the losing team has to go against a hockey team in a brawl. So you don't want to have to fight the hockey players, and they're just sitting in the sidelines, just like pumping their fist, they're just getting ready. Unless you want to fight these USA hockey players, then you got to go win. I don't know what kind of incentives that the players are actually going to appreciate or respond to, but something's got to change, something's got to give. Otherwise, it's going to end up like the NFL Pro Bowl, which is the most embarrassing thing you could possibly imagine. After watching all these, super hits and hard hitting defense of the 90s go away to this little, let's play flag football.
Yeah.
Oh, but I can throw the ball farther than you. Come on.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. it's bad.
Get into something before we, specifically talk about the rest of the season with OKC. I need your opinion on this. It bothers me daily, and it really shouldn't because I watch the guy every night he plays. This free throw merchant thing with Shea. I mean, I've never seen a more delusional take in my life. They don't watch the games and they don't see how he's getting fouled and how he's not reaching for fouls 24/7. I need your take on that because it bothers me terribly.
Okay. See, your problem is you're looking too much on the internet and you're taking what people's opinions are and you're letting them get to you. You're old enough. You play video games, right?
Of course.
Okay. Now, come on. You just got to let the haters hate. They're going to keep hating. You just got to let it roll off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Laugh it off like Shea does. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. The problem,
if you watch the game, he's got the skills.
right?
And he's driving to the lane more than anybody. So
Yeah, we saw the same thing with Westbrook with the stat padding narrative.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. The problem I have with it, I don't care about the haters and the comments. It's become such this big thing that big programs like Bleacher Report will post Shea's stat line, 35 points, and they'll put the free throws next to it. I mean, that's getting a little out of hand to me.
Because what do they want?
Clicks,
They want the clicks. They want it, and that's what's going to get it. Because you're going to have the dedicated, committed fan base, right? That OKC, like, no, he drives to the lane more than anybody. He is the best in the world, and you're going to get everybody else, being like free throw merchant. Jokic is the real king. What about LeBron? No one even talks about how great he is at 40. They just want to get the comments, and it's just the culture we live in, and it's unfortunate. And damn the trolls and damn the hate. Just go have fun with it. Let Shea get his trophy, and he can throw double birds once he gets it.
I do want to add into the conversation a little bit about how Joe mentioned, Russell Westbrook had that stat patter label put on him. And something I've noticed about the NBA, once you kind of have a label on you, it sticks with you. And then it usually gets worse as your career kind of moves forward. And we've seen it with multitude of players. And so I just feel like, at least from Shea's perspective, as the group ages or as this kind of continues, hopefully the narrative isn't taken by, like, I guess, quote unquote, Thunder fans in a poor way. Because we've seen that with Russ when he's obviously moved on to the Lakers and other areas where he's trying his best. That he has a specific play style. And I just hope as Shea ages into his later years, this isn't something that's like, carries on in a very negative way.
Yeah, and kudos, as you bring up Russ, kudos to the Nuggets for letting Russ cook again and not trying to reel him in and make him something that he's not.
Exactly.
So for all the Thunder fans out there who haven't watched any Nuggets games, do yourself a favor, go check it out. Russ is kind of back a little bit. Enjoy some of that. But I do think that it is one of those stereotypes that are often hard to overcome once they've been given to you. But that's the unfortunate part. The key to kind of take away from it all is, yeah, Russ had the stat padding narrative, but he overcame that to get an MVP. Let's just hope that Shea can do the same.
Yep, sure.
Yeah.
Talking about Russ actually playing with the Nuggets, this is his first game back. He'll be playing tonight at 8 p.m. at Central Time versus the Hornets. So definitely make sure people listening check that out because, like you said, it's awesome seeing Russ getting to play his style. Okay, well, with that, we can go ahead and look at the upcoming game. We kind of wanted to get your prediction on the Jazz game, which will take place tomorrow. And then after that, just kind of your prediction for the rest of the season. How do you think it's going to go for us Thunder fans?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to going into the All-Star break on a win. Timberwolves kind of pulled the rug from under us after they had played like 5 games in 7 nights or whatever. Now everybody's going to kind of be well rested. And hopefully they all kind of come together and realize that they're on the back half of the season. It's time to put it into gear. Their effort levels are going to kind of have a little uptick as we naturally see in the NBA. So now it's time to really put the work in and let's get there. Let's take this all the way. I'm looking forward to this being a run of the ages, something that we tell our kids about, something that we remember forever. And 10 to 15 years from now, when we're talking about our favorite Thunder teams and everything else, this is the team we point to and we say, remember when they were on the rise. Because it doesn't get much more fun than it is right now.
Yes,
So
for sure.
we gotta love it. We gotta appreciate it because reality is going to set in. And that's something that, in the back of my mind, as much as I love this team, I'm scared about, right? Because I watched what happened when the business aspects come into play and you're making those financial crunches. And right now, the Thunder don't have to do that because they're so young, but they're going to have to do that. But no, I expect pure domination over the Jazz. Coming back from a break, putting in the work. I think Chet's going to come out pissed as all hell because he had, a rough couple of games back. His offense wasn't clicking the way he wanted it to, and you could see it in his body language. And even if he struggles, I just want to see him kind of put that away. Don't let everybody see it. Don't let people see the way that it's affecting you or bothering you. Just put in the work, man. We know you're good for it. You're going to get there. The defense is there. He's just got to kind of come well-rounded into the offense. I think that's going to be the storyline of the second half of the season for the Thunder, is watching them kind of become well-rounded, watching Chet work back into the system, and watching him get his offense going.
That's a perfect transition because one of the bigger topics we've had in the last few weeks, as Chet has come back into the starting role. I don't know if you saw, but I'm big on putting Hartenstein coming off the bench. I'm not loving the double big lineup. I think it kind of messes up Shea's spacing and kind of gets Chet out of the paint, which we don't necessarily need. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. I'm a big Wiggins guy. I'd love to slide him in at the 2 unless we're playing games against like Dallas with multiple big men or teams like of that caliber.
I think right now, the more that we do the double bigs, the better off it's going to be because the Thunder have a big enough lead. They can handle a couple of slip-ups here and there as long as we're building that chemistry so that when we do have to use it in the playoffs, it's not foreign to the players.
Right.
And so I think that's a lot of why Mark's kind of pushing that right now is because he wants them to get comfortable, even if it looks like crap sometimes.
Yeah, no, that's
like
fair.
We've got to develop that chemistry. We've got to develop it, and there's no time to do it other than these games. They have a big enough lead in the West that we have time to play with it. Let's kind of figure it out so that when it comes playoff time, when it comes, putting the grit to the grindstone and all that stuff, we're ready to roll. And it's not something that we're having to kind of figure out on the fly.
Right.
And I think that's why we're seeing a lot of it. It's not the smoothest thing at times, but when it clicks, I think it's going to look beautiful. We just got to get it to click. And if it's not going to click, then we need to make the adjustments, like you said, changing up the starting lineup. Of course, Wiggins is just really etching himself into saying, hey, what about me? I matter. I saved basketball. Put me in, because he is playing phenomenal.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's been doing. I had a little question for you. You talked about how much you're expecting Chet to kind of pick up in the second half of the season. Obviously, Shea taking over, winning us games by himself at times. Who do you think would be in kind of underrated X factor that could potentially really push us over when a lot of people aren't expecting it outside of Chet and Shea?
Yeah, I think when it comes to the playoffs, like if that's what we're looking at, right, it's going to be Dub growing because he kind of didn't have his best in the playoffs last year, and I think that's going to be his next big jump, right? Is watching Dub take on that responsibility and get better there. Same kind of thing that what did we learn from last year is kind of what we're looking at, right? As we're kind of gearing up towards this playoff run, and it's got to be hitting consistently from deep. And so when you think about that, the first person that comes to mind is Isaiah Joe. Isaiah Joe's got to be there. Isaiah Joe's got to hit those shots when it matters most. And so I think the two players that I'm looking at the most when it comes to these next couple of months going into the playoffs is going to be just the consistency and the development between Dub and Joe so that when it comes time for the playoffs, we know they're there and we know that they're going to give us consistent points and buckets when we need them.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more.
Obviously this season we're seeing the Western Conference more stacked than ever. Who would be like your preferred first round matchup for entertainment purposes? Who would you want to see us play the most?
God. Oh man, it's hard, dude. It's hard out there in the West. Entertainment purposes. That would me be assuming that no matter what the Thunder wins, you kind of look at this like redemption arc. You look at, history will repeat itself. And one of the first times that I knew as a fan that the Thunder had arrived was when we went through the playoff run and we beat the Lakers and then we beat the Mavs. Love to see that go down again. That, I feel like for entertainment purposes, yeah, it might not be the best matchup in the world, but we don't even know what the Mavs are at this point or if they're going to make it with AD being out for as long as he's going to be. But you get that just retribution. I went to Dallas for the Game 4 sweep, and I've never received more hate in my life than walking around the stadium with my belly all painted, saying I've snuck in some Thunder. But I would like to get that redemption. That series was a lot closer than a lot of people think about because they were 2 points separated them for the entire series as far as points scored. It was a really close competitive battle. And but entertainment purposes, I'm just going to say in my head, that means we win. If I'm entertained, Thunder are winning. So that would be great. And then, to take down the Lakers and to shut up all the LeBron lovers, that's just sweet.
Yeah, I like those picks.
Yeah, looking into that, I was doing some research on my own last night, and it's truly, in my opinion, going to shape out to be one of three teams in the first round. I don't think Sacramento's going to be it. It's either going to be Dallas, Minnesota, or Golden State, which is, oddly enough, those are not teams you would think would be 8 seeds. So it's going to be a battle either way.
And I don't know if we've learned anything, but I don't want any part of Jimmy Buckets coming playoff time. That dude can lead a ragtag bunch of nobodies to the finals. He can do a lot. So
I'm thinking the same thing, man. I don't want to see Jimmy Butler.
And he is probably more motivated than he's been in a long time, and he's well rested.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that dude. I don't want to see him in the playoffs.
And the crazy part is here we are talking about how much Jimmy can do. That means the second fiddle is Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. Like that's scary.
And we've already dealt with Steph enough, man. Yeah, I'm tired of Steph too.
I'm sick of Steph.
and then we're also bypassing the team that went to the Western Conference Finals last year. I know they don't have their Karl Anthony Towns anymore, but
they just punched us right in the face. We're going to see in the next couple of weeks because we play them, 2 more times?
Three more times.
Three times, yeah.
Too many.
Wild.
You're expecting domination against the Jazz, and you want to see the rise of greatness in this team. So I have to put you on the spot. Will this year's Oklahoma City Thunder team win the NBA Finals?
Yes.
Let's go. All right. Fire me up. Let's do it. I think we talked about a few teams that, give us problems, but at the end of the day, best player on the court's going to win, and I think we have that. So
it's got to be, if they really want to do this thing, they got to do it sooner rather than later, right? Because like I talked about earlier, the reality of the business, right? You have this affordable team right here, right now. You have Shea coming into a glorious prime run. You got all the pieces around him. You got the greatest free agent signing in Oklahoma City Thunder history and iHeart. The time is now. Let's roll.
Absolutely agree. Into our little game skit. Really fun. We've tried it before.
Don't say the same Thunder player as me. So I'll say a category, and it'll have a player. There's only so many right answers, and I'll write it down, and we'll go through. If one of you say it, you're eliminated. Last round will be there's only 2 answers. Last time we did just pick a Jalen Williams. Question 1 will be OKC Thunder All-Star.
Yeah, you want to try to find an obscure one, but not obscure enough to where Jack will write it down. That's the problem there.
I get eliminated by Jack on the first question.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to. All right. So I'll lead off. I did this last time we played, and I ended up winning. So I'm going to continue my strategy, and I'm just going to go with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander because I feel like that's not a name that you're going to pull.
I won't reveal it yet.
I'll go Russell Westbrook.
Give me Paul George.
I'm going Paul George as well.
All right. You all survive.
Oh, wow.
Jalen Williams.
There we
I
go.
was trying to get you, Joe, with that logic. But
You know what? My first thought in my brain was Jalen Williams, but if you remembered what I was doing last time, I can't do that.
No.
All right. Awesome. So we all survive here.
Second question. First round pick, Thunder player, drafted by the Thunder.
I'm going to go with Jack's hometown native, Steven Adams.
All right. I'm going to go Nick Collison.
We'll go J-Dub. Surely you won't pick him twice.
Casey Wallace.
I'm also going with J-Dub.
Reveal it was Steven Adams.
Oh, no.
I was afraid of that. See, that's why I didn't go Steven Adams, because luckily I asked for clarification earlier and knew that Jack's from New Zealand.
Oh, he's thinking like me now. He's got me. All right. You guys take it off?
I'm thinking like Joe. We're going to go for an Oklahoma City Thunder coach. Joe's out, so we'll start with you, Landon.
PJ Carlissimo.
Billy Donovan.
I'm going Billy Donovan.
I'll go with Scott Brooks.
You all survive.
Wow.
It was Mark Dagnall.
Oh, wow.
I thought I'd get someone.
Not
like
this
Joe.
time.
I almost went PJ, but I was like, well, Landon already said him, because that's the most obscure, terrible coach.
Yeah.
He's awful.
Either Shea, Dort, Dub, Hartenstein, or Shet.
I'll just go with Shea. I feel like he's not going to pick the obvious one.
I'll go iHeart.
Dort.
I'm going with J-Dub.
It is Lou Dort.
Oh, another one like making me feel a
One
little
of my
better
favorites
now.
all time.
3 remaining.
Mm-hmm. Jalen or Jalen Williams? So J Will or J Dub?
50-50 shot here.
All right, I got mine. So
I'll go J-Dub.
I'm going to go with J. Will after hitting a big 3. The screen.
I'm going with J-Dub. I've stuck with him.
the last time I lost this game because I went with J Will. So this time I went with J Dub. So
Oh, wow. He comes on the show and he wins
And
first
wins.
try.
No.
Of course. That's the legend right there. Look at that.
It's because I'm a psychology major. I'll just throw that in there. You know, I think that's probably what it was. I could read
reading
him.
our
could be, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh my gosh.
Awesome stuff. I want to really thank everyone who's watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. Go follow Garrett Thundor Haviland on Instagram. Best fan we know. You can't beat him. And Garrett, again, just thank you for coming on. We all appreciate it. And Thunder up,
Thunder up, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.